Hey everyone, it's Mr. Pettis, your favorite Algebra 2 teacher. Today we're going to go over solving exponential equations, day 2. The two properties we need to talk about before we get started are product and quotient rule. When you multiply and you have the same base, you're going to add the exponents. Okay, so if I have 3 to the 5th power times 3 to the 12th power, well, the bases are the same, so I keep it the same. And then you just add the exponents. So 5 and 12 give me 17. Okay? Bases are the same. You're just going to add if we have multiplication in the middle. So for quotient is just division. So if I have the same base and they are dividing, we're going to subtract the powers or the exponents. Okay? So if I have 7 to the 12th over 7 to the 3rd, the base is the same. So I keep the base the same. And then 12 over 3 is 12 minus 3 is going to give me 9, okay? So when you see multiplication, add your exponents. When you see a fraction or division, subtract your exponents. So the new stuff, this first example. Yesterday we only had one expression on the left, one expression on the right. Now you're going to have two expressions on one side. What you need to do first is make sure that you have the same base throughout the equation. And in this case, I made it easy because it's all 15. Every base is 15. So step 1 is done for you. Step number 2 is to condense using one of these two properties. So I have multiplication. What does that mean for my powers? Well, multiplication means I'm going to add, right? So keep the base the same, it's 15, and then add your exponent. So negative 3n plus 7n would be 4n plus 1, and then the right side stays the same. All right, so it's just a problem from yesterday now. That's it. That's the extra step for today. Condense using product or quotient. So we did that. And our bases are the same, so the bases cancel. We're just left with our power. So drop your power. And then just solve. So I'm going to subtract the 4, so that'll be negative 6n. And then divide by negative 6, so it's negative 1 over 6 equals n. Now when you're checking your problem, if you are checking your problem, go ahead and plug in your answer to the left side only, press enter, see what you get, and then type in your answer to the right side, press enter, see what you get. Those two should match. There are some issues when you do the whole equation with the equal sign, it'll give you an error. So just split it up in half, okay? Split it up in half and then do it that way. All right, 3 more examples. Next example is 1 over 8, 3 to the x times 64, 2x plus 1 equals 4. All right, so this one's a good one. So step number 1 is to get the same base. If I have 8, 64, and 4, my smallest base is 4. Okay, but let's look at something. If I do 4 squared, that would just be 16. I need it to be 8, so it can't be 8. So having a base of 4 is not going to work. Okay, we can't do a base of 4. So when you're doing this, try to make it your smallest base. If that doesn't work, you're going to look for a prime base. What are your prime numbers besides 1? 2, 3, 5, 7, and 9. But usually it could go just to 2 or 3. 2 or 3 usually works all the time. All right, so since we have 8, 64, and 4, our base should be 2. So let's change them. So if I have, well, do the 8. 8 is really 2 to the 3rd. But since it was a fraction, it's negative 3 as a power, okay? So I'll say that again. 1 over 8, a base of 2 for 8 would be 2 to the third power. 2 to the third gives me 8. But since it was a fraction, you got to put the negative, okay? So multiply that by 64. 64 is 2 to what power? Get your calculator, get your phone, check it out. Put in some numbers. It'll be 2 to the 6th power. So that'll be 2x plus 1 in parentheses. And then we need to make 4 to be a base of 2, and we all know that's 2 to the 2nd, right? So boom, we did the same base. So now condense it out. So what are we going to have? Let me scooch this up. So condense. Multiplication means that we're going to add, right? So we need to actually multiply this out first. So we have 2 would be negative 9x times 2, 12 plus 12x plus 6 equals 2. Combine this together, so that's really addition, so it's 2. And then add your x's, so that'll be 3x plus 6, and this will be 2 squared as well, okay? So now you have one base on the left, one base on the right. You can cancel those out. Drop your powers and go ahead and solve. So subtract the 6. And then divide by 3. And there's your answer. Okay? Alright, so 2 more, and we're going to deal with the quotients. So, the next example is 216 to the 2a power over 36 to the negative a power equals 216. Alright, so we need the same bases. So 36 and 216, you might not be familiar with these numbers, but if we do 36 squared, because that's our smallest base, I'm trying to look at it, I know it's not going to be right, but that's going to be 1,296, so we're definitely not going that way. So we need smaller numbers. So you got to play around. You could go straight for prime numbers if you want, but if you see 36, what do you think about? Well, I think about 6 squared. Okay, so let's give a try and go 6 to the third power. So 6 to the third power would be my 216. So there you have it. You could use 6. If you want to use 2, you can use 2 as your base as well. But work smart, not hard. It's not always going to be a prime factor or a prime base. Okay, so I'll use 6 to the second and 6 to the third. So let's switch those around. So 216 on the top is changing to 6 thirds, or 6 to the third power, parentheses 2a. On the bottom, that's changing to 6 squared times negative a equals the 6 to the third power again. Okay, so let's condense and fix the left side. Let's go ahead and multiply the top power, so that'll be 6a, and then multiply the bottom power, so that'll be negative 2a, and this will be 6 to the third. Okay, now when we do have a fraction here, my base is the same, so I know that's going to be 6, but we're subtracting. Okay, we're going to subtract the power. 6a minus a negative 2a. So 6a minus a negative 2a. So that becomes 6a plus 2a. So that becomes 8a. So this power here is now 8a. This is still 6 to the third. Okay, so do that math off to the side if you need to write it out. You'd rather be correct than be wrong, so write out some more work. Bases are the same, 6 and 6. So 8a equals 3, so a equals 3 over 8. Don't be worried about all the fractions as answers. It's going to happen. All right, last one. I'm at 10 minutes already, so let's get this done. All right, last example. 125 over 25 negative 3m equals 25 negative 2m minus 2. Okay, so what do we have to do here? We want the bases to be the same. Now, 25, what is 25 squared? 25 squared is already 265, so that's not going to work because we just need 125. So what's your next prime factor? 2, 3, 5, 7. If you see 25, you should think what? 5 squared. So we're not going to use that. We're going to use 5 squared because that equals 25. So most likely, the next power, 5 to the third, go ahead and check it if you need to, but it will be 125. So our base is going to be 5, okay? So let's change those around. This would just be 5 to the third power. The bottom of that would be 5 squared with the negative 3m in parentheses because we're going to multiply that out in a little bit. And then this becomes 5 squared again, parentheses what was already there. Okay? All right, so let's condense the left side. Let's fix it. 5 to the third power over 5, multiply that out, that's negative 6m. And then this would be 5, multiply that by 2. That would be negative 4m minus 4. Okay? So I'm going to write this part out right here. So this part out is really 3 minus negative 6m. So that's just 3 plus 6m. And that's fine. We'll just leave it like that because we still have to solve anyways. So it's okay that it doesn't look just as one number. It's still an expression we'll fix in a minute. Alright, so we have the same bases now. Now, once you have the same base on the left, the same base on the right, and only one of each, that's when you want to cancel out the base, drop the power, and solve. Alright, so then go ahead and solve. So I'm going to subtract. I'll write this out in pink. I'm actually going to add my 4m over here. So that'll cancel. So that means that I have to subtract my 3 over here. So that'll cancel. So we have 10m equals negative 7. So m equals negative 7 over 10. Okay. Alright, so that's it. Ask me questions if you get stuck. Be productive and remember your goal. Mr. Pettis out. Like, subscribe, do your thing. Thanks.